This is the new iPad mini 7th generation with the A17 Pro chip. It's just been released and just been delivered. So in this video, I'm going to unbox it and I'm going to test it against the 6th generation iPad mini. We've also got a couple of pencils to try out. We'll do some benchmarks, see whether Apple's fixed that jelly scroll issue on the screen. Let's get straight to the unboxing. Packaging is, as always, lovely from Apple. No plastic to be seen. And I do just need to say thank you to Tom, whose iPad this actually is. He's very generously letting me open it up live on the channel to do a review, giving up his own unboxing experience. So we've got our iPad itself in its usual paper wrapping. Look at that in a moment. We've got our document wallet and a braided USB-C to Type-C charge cable. Let's see what we get inside our document wallet. So we've got a quick start guide in a number of different languages, but no Apple stickers in the box. So if you're a fan of getting Apple stickers, none here, I'm afraid. And that's it. That's all that's in the box. No charger, of course. Okay, I'm going to try and carefully take off the paper so that I can put it back on neatly. And see, Tom has gone for this rather nice grey colour. So let's take a look at our iPad mini. And I have to say, at first glance, it looks absolutely identical to the previous generation, which of course is what we were expecting. I can't see any differences in buttons or location of anything. There's no size difference. So let's get it set up. I'll do that off camera and then we'll come back and do some testing. So the new iPad mini is all set up, and on our overhead camera here you'll find the iPad mini 7th generation is on the right hand side, and we'll have the iPad mini 6th generation on the left. I think the first thing that I want to test is actually, does a magnetic case for an iPad mini 6th generation fit onto the 7th generation? Just trying to see if there's a difference in the force required to remove the iPad, to see whether Apple has changed the location. It feels pretty similar to me. So I think you can probably use a 6th generation case with a 7th generation iPad. That's good to know. Okay, let's take a quick look at pencil support. And I've got two pencils here. This is the older pencil that went with the iPad mini 6th generation. So if I put this older pencil onto the older iPad, you can see that it pairs and it's charging and it attaches nice and strong magnetically. If I try and put the new Pencil Pro on the iPad, it does sort of attach, but it's not very strong at all. And you can see that it slides around on the side of the iPad. You can also see that it's not charging and there's no way to pair it. So let's try Pencil Pro on our new iPad mini 7. So there we go. It's immediately connected, nice secure magnetic attachment, and it's launched the Welcome to Apple Pencil Pro app. Of course, Apple Pencil Pro supports barrel roll, hover, and the new haptic touch function. So there is some additional functionality, and I want to try that out in a second. But first of all, let's try putting the old pencil on the new iPad. And we've got much the same problem here. It's the magnets aren't lined up because they're in a different position, but it's very, very slightly different. But of course, even if you did have a way of attaching this to your iPad, that's how it pairs with the iPad. So if you can't attach it and it won't pair and it won't charge, you can't use it. I think this is possibly one of the most frustrating things about this release. If you're thinking about upgrading and you've already got a Pencil 2nd generation, unfortunately, you've got to go out and buy either the Pencil Pro or the USB-C pencil. So I've just got the Notes app open. I can see the hover feature is working, and also that cool shadow. I don't know if that's going to come out on the overhead camera, but you get the shadow of the pencil on the screen. Now, this is my Pencil Pro. I've been using this with my iPad Pro, and the iPad Pro has a 120 Hz display, whereas the iPad mini has a 60 Hz display. So all of that extra functionality you're getting, you're running it on a lower speed display. Does it feel as good to use? Let's try it out. First of all, let's just write some text. So an initial impression that I get from this is actually there isn't much difference between writing notes on this and writing notes on the iPad Pro with its 120 Hz screen. So I suspect that difference might only be applicable to those who are doing artwork on their iPad. And if you're really interested in drawing and using your iPad as a drawing tablet, I'd suggest possibly the Mini isn't the way to go. And if you want the Pencil Pro, you do probably need to go down the iPad Pro route. I think the biggest question that I've got though about this iPad and its display is the jelly scrolling issue that plagued the iPad Mini 6. Let me demonstrate this to you. Now, I don't know how well this will come out on the overhead camera because it's running at 25 frames per second, but I can tell you in person, if I scroll up and down on a page of text, there is a distinct wobble to the text. What's going on is that the right-hand side of the display, when you're in portrait mode, is updating before the left-hand side of the display. So as I scroll down, the text kind of slopes down this way for me, and when you go back up, it goes the other way. So you get this kind of wobbling effect. But it's even present when you scroll quite slowly. It just seems to make the text kind of go at an angle. It always made me feel a bit nauseous. So I bought one of these when they were first released, and I ended up sending it back because I couldn't get on with it. This is my wife's iPad Mini, and she's never complained about it or even noticed it. So some people, it doesn't bother. But once you've seen it, it's kind of difficult to unsee it, if you know what I mean. Now, all displays, LCD displays, will suffer from this in one orientation or the other. But this is just one of the worst ones that I've seen from Apple. Have they fixed it with the new iPad Mini Generation 7? Let's just load up the same page. Oh, okay. Have they fixed it? No. That's a short answer, but it's not the same. But what I'm noticing here, and again, I don't know if this is going to come out on the camera, and I don't know if this is just this particular iPad or because it's recently been set up, or, you know, so take this all with a pinch of salt, but I can only tell you what I'm seeing. And what I'm seeing is that this one has particularly bad jelly scroll, but it's smooth. When you scroll up and down the page, for a 60 Hz display, it's as you'd expect, but it is quite smooth. This one also has the jelly scroll, but the display stutters a bit when you're scrolling. It's almost like the refresh rate is running lower than 60 Hz, like maybe at 40 or something like that. And I just wonder whether Apple has done that as a sort of sticking plaster fix to the jelly scroll effect. I mean, it does still jelly scroll, but because it's less smooth, it's less obvious. That seems like a fairly big revelation, and I'm sort of worried that I need to test it more. But yeah, so I think I've got to say, based on what I'm seeing here with these specific iPads, the jelly scroll isn't fixed, it's present. As you'd expect with any display of this type. It's not as bad as it used to be, but there is definitely a jitteriness. So let's do some benchmarks and see how the A17 Pro chip performs compared to the older A15 Bionic in the iPad Mini 6. So I've got Geekbench 6 open on both of the devices, and just notice with this grey screen here that the colour temperature on the two iPads is slightly different. They're both at maximum brightness at the moment, but there's more of a green hint to the newer iPad and more of a purple hint to the older iPad. Very subtle, but I can see it. Let's do a CPU benchmark. And what you will notice here is that the RAM has increased on the new model. We've now got 8 GB instead of 4 GB. Let's just run our CPU benchmarks and see what the performance difference is. So the Geekbench 6 results are in, and it comes as no surprise to learn that the new chip is indeed quicker than the old chip. We go up from 2,136 for single core up to 2,852, and then on multi-core we're going up from 5,313 all the way up to 7,010. So those seem like pretty good uplifts in performance, except I thought I'd just check my iPhone 15 Pro, which also has an A17 Pro. And I know that this particular chip, although it has the same name, is possibly being made with a different process node, but the iPhone scores higher. It gets 2979 on single core and 7407 on multi-core. Now, I would have expected the iPad mini with its slightly larger chassis and cooling potential to have done better, but perhaps these chips are not identical. That said, there is always some variation between chips, so to compare just two devices and come to that conclusion is probably a step too far. So I'm just going to say what I see, and nonetheless, this is still a really good result. There's loads of performance in these iPads, the kind of performance that you wouldn't have even gotten out of a laptop just a few years ago. So that's absolutely great. Well, let's try out the GPU now. So we'll just do the Geekbench 6 metal test. And the results are in, and once again the new chip is faster than the old chip. But it's quite an interesting result actually. I wasn't expecting this. So the old A15 Bionic scores just shy of 20,000 in the GPU score, and the new iPad mini is getting just over 25,000. Now this is interesting because something that I missed when I did my initial video once the iPad mini had been announced is that the chip that's in this iPad mini has 5 GPU cores as opposed to the 6 that are in the A17 Pro on the iPhone. So you'd expect the iPhone to perform better, and indeed it does. It scores almost 28,500. But I would have expected that differential to be larger. And it's interesting that it's not. So losing that GPU core hasn't cost the iPad mini too much. And of course it does have that extra RAM on board compared to the iPad mini 6, which this test probably isn't exploiting. So we'll do a 3D Mark test in a moment. But before we do that, I wanted to try Geekbench AI. Of course, the iPad mini 7 is being advertised as supporting Apple Intelligence and as having a much faster neural processing unit or neural engine. So let's test that out using this app. So we'll select the neural engine as our backend and we'll run an AI benchmark. So the results are in, and it took less than half the time to run the benchmark on the new iPad compared to the older one. So there's obviously a huge difference between them, and we can see that in the scores. So single precision on the old one at 1892 and 4036 on the new one. So that's more than double in all of the scores. In fact, it's almost treble when it comes to the quantized score. So there's definitely way more machine learning capability in the new iPad. And obviously that's going to be needed for Apple Intelligence, along with that additional RAM, which may well be affecting this score as well. So if you're using your iPad for any kind of machine learning task, perhaps a photo editor that's editing out objects in the background, that kind of thing, it's all going to run much faster on the new iPad mini. So that's really nice to see. Let's get back to the graphics chip though, and we'll run a 3D Mark benchmark. Okay, so opening 3D Mark is interesting because on the older iPad, it's recommending that we run the Wildlife Extreme test. And on the new one, it's recommending that we run Steel Nomad Lite. Neither of those is a ray tracing test. Okay, so if I try to get to Steel Nomad Lite on the old iPad, it says that your device doesn't meet the minimum RAM requirement of 8 GB for this test. So clearly that additional memory makes a difference to the games that you can play. It may well be that some of the latest titles won't even run on the older iPad, but they might be able to run on this newer one. So we're never going to complain at having twice the RAM. Let's just try and find a test that we can run on both of them. In fact, let's just do the Wildlife Extreme, then at least we get a result that we can compare between the two. Okay, and the results are back. So the old iPad averaged 15.7 frames per second and scores 2,614. The new iPad averages 18.3 frames per second and scores 3,056. So there is a noticeable step up in graphics performance with the new iPad. This test probably doesn't paint the whole picture though, because bear in mind anything that requires ray tracing will not be supported on the old iPad mini, but would work on the new iPad mini. And as we already saw from the test that we couldn't run on the older one, there will be some titles that might require more memory, if not now, in the future. So having that additional RAM and that additional graphics performance is a very welcome upgrade. What I'd like to do now is just see what difference that RAM and that chip makes in everyday use. Let's just do a bit of web browsing. So on each of the iPads, I've opened 10 tabs, and it is the same 10 tabs on both of them. And what I'm going to do is just flick through the tabs and just sort of scroll the page a bit. So first of all, on the old iPad, I mean, the tabs are loading instantly. And even if I switch app, let's go back into Geekbench, and then let's go back into Safari. Everything's instant and immediate, even on the old iPad. So how do you improve on instant and immediate? We get the same result when we look at the new iPad. It's instant, Pages are loading super quick. The experience is basically instant on both of the iPads. There's no real discernible difference. Now, if I were to do a browser benchmark test between the two, there's no doubt that the new iPad mini will outperform the old iPad mini. But in real world usage, are you going to see that difference? If all you use your iPad mini for is the basics, you know, browsing the web, sending email, watching YouTube content, that kind of thing, I don't think there's a real noticeable difference between either of these machines in terms of performance. If you do like to play the latest games, I think you will notice a difference with the new iPad mini 7. I guess a question that's going to arise out of this is, if you've got an iPad mini 6th generation, should you consider upgrading to the 7th generation? The answer for me would be no, because I don't think there's enough of a general performance improvement. With a caveat to that, of course, being if you want to use Apple Intelligence or other machine learning features, or if you're playing lots of games, then I could see possibly a motivation to do that upgrade. If you've got a previous version of the iPad mini before the 6th generation, should you upgrade to the Mini 7? Absolutely, makes a lot of sense. It's a really good step forward. Thanks as always for watching and for supporting the channel. Really appreciate it. When we get a chance to do a bit more testing, we'll bring a bit more content, but that's it for the quick first look at the iPad mini Generation 7. See you again soon for some more geekery.